Have you ever wondered, why do your joints still ache, even though you take turmeric every single day? Why does your body feel quietly exhausted, even when you're trying so hard to eat all the right foods? Sometimes we unknowingly pair something healing with something that quietly works against us. There was an 81-year-old woman who drank turmeric with milk every single night for 3 full months. She never missed a single dose. And then one day, she found out that very glass of milk was the reason the turmeric wasn't doing anything at all. In today's video, let's gently uncover 4 combinations that may seem harmless, but could actually be turning golden turmeric into something useless. Or worse, silently weakening the body from within. If you find this video helpful, please leave a comment below so I know you're still walking this journey with me. And if you believe someone you care about might benefit from this message, don't hesitate to hit subscribe and share it. Not for the channel, but for our health and the precious years that still lie ahead. There are mornings that feel completely ordinary. A slice of toast, a warm cup of tea, and a familiar hand sprinkling a bit of turmeric over a bowl of plain rice porridge. A small gesture. Yet for many older friends, it holds a quiet kind of faith. A belief that we're taking care of ourselves in our own way every single day. Because somewhere along the way, we heard turmeric was good for the joints, for the memory, and for those silent aches that never quite had a name. And then, at some point, without noticing exactly when, we begin to wonder. We're still taking turmeric every day, but the back feels more hunched, the steps slower, the fatigue always lingering. A question starts to rise. Is something not right? But before it has a chance to breathe, we soothe it away. It's just age, isn't it? We're used to accepting things, but maybe, just maybe, that habit of acceptance is also what keeps us from noticing something small, quietly working against us. A friend of mine, Mr. Martin, kept a very balanced routine. Every morning he had a bowl of oats with chia seeds, spinach, and a spoonful of golden turmeric. I've got it covered, iron from the greens, turmeric for the joints, omega for the heart, he'd laugh. But lately he found himself short of breath after climbing stairs, forgetting where he put his keys, his skin just a little more pale than before. It's just getting older, I suppose, he said. We all say that. But sometimes fatigue isn't only about aging. One day while sitting by the window, Mr. Martin came across a small article. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, can inhibit iron absorption when consumed with iron-rich foods like spinach or fortified oats. He paused. The meal he trusted each morning was quietly doing the opposite of what he'd hoped. He hadn't done anything wrong. It's just that sometimes even good things, placed in the wrong moment, lose their goodness. Martin didn't stop using turmeric, and he didn't give up his oats. He simply shifted one small thing, taking turmeric at lunchtime, a few hours after breakfast. That was all. 2 weeks later, he said, I don't know if it's because of that, but I've felt more alert in the mornings lately, and my hands, they're steadier now. I don't drop things like I used to. Grandma, it might be the milk that's keeping the turmeric from working as it should. It wasn't that turmeric had stopped being helpful. It was the milk, cow's milk. Despite its fat content, it contains a protein called casein, and that casein can trap curcumin, the active healing compound in turmeric, preventing the body from fully absorbing it. It's like giving yourself a beautiful gift, but wrapping it so tightly you never get to open it. Her granddaughter suggested she try switching to unsweetened almond milk instead. No casein, no lactose, and much easier on a stomach that wasn't quite as strong as it once was. At first, Eleanor hesitated. That nightly cup had become her quiet comfort, the soft landing before sleep. She wasn't ready to let it go, but eventually she gave it a try. She didn't stop using turmeric. She didn't abandon her routine. She simply changed one small thing, swapping out the milk. A harmless little ingredient. That turned out to matter more than she thought. 3 weeks later, she called her granddaughter. Her voice was bright, like sunshine on a breezy autumn day. Lately, I've been sleeping better, she said. And in the morning, my joints don't feel so stiff anymore. I don't know if it's the almond milk, but I feel lighter. No scientific proof needed. For someone who's lived through life's seasons, the body's quiet wisdom rarely lies. In the late afternoon of life, it's often the smallest changes, gentle, almost invisible, that bring the greatest comfort. There's no need for complicated remedies, just a willingness to listen to the body and to try again with a softer touch. If you've been taking turmeric with cow's milk and haven't noticed much difference yet, try switching to a plant-based milk. You don't need to start all over. Just shift the rhythm a little. And if you can, add a pinch of black pepper too, like an old friend who helps turmeric shine its brightest. Because health isn't always about how much we do. Sometimes it's about how we do it, gently, at the right moment, and just enough for a body that's quietly changing, day by day. Eleanor had a white porcelain cup, rimmed with faded silver, the handle slightly chipped at the edge. It wasn't just any cup. It was the one her late husband had bought during their very first trip together, over 40 years ago. Since the day he passed, she'd used that same cup every night to make her turmeric milk. Not because she didn't have other cups, but because of habit, because of the warmth, because a piece of memory still lived quietly along the curve of that chipped porcelain. Each evening, she would pour warm milk into the cup, stir in a small spoonful of turmeric, and sit by the window. The porch light from outside would cast a soft glow through the sheer curtain, lighting the golden milk like the last rays of a fading day. She drank slowly, as if in quiet conversation with herself, or maybe with someone who was no longer there. The doctor said it's good for the joints, she would recall, and she listened, but also because it brought her peace. An old friend once told her turmeric helped with sleep, eased the pain. She was never fully sure, but if the heart feels lighter, maybe that too is a kind of healing. Lately, though, she'd felt a bit bloated at night, digestion slower. Her knees still ached quietly when the weather turned. She hadn't told anyone, just thought, it must be age. Then one day her granddaughter came to visit, saw the familiar golden cup on the table, and asked gently, "Grandma, do you make it with cow's milk or plant milk?" Eleanor blinked. "With cow's milk, of course. Turmeric needs milk to help me sleep, doesn't it?" Her granddaughter smiled softly, careful as if not to touch an old memory too roughly. "Cow's milk has a protein called casein. It can block the absorption of curcumin, the part of turmeric that does the healing. But if you switch to almond or oat milk, it might feel easier on your body, Grandma." That night, for the first time in over 50 years, Eleanor made her turmeric milk with plant-based milk. The cup was the same, the table unchanged. Only now, her stomach felt calmer. There was no midnight tossing, and in the morning her knees didn't ache the way they used to. Not because almond milk is magical, but perhaps because her body, after all these years, was quietly asking for something just a little different. Since then, she still sits by the window every night. The turmeric drink still warms her hands, but now it's a different kind of warmth, not just from the drink, but from a woman who has learned to listen to herself, to adjust gently, and still keep what matters most. That old chipped cup remains, but each time she lifts it now, she isn't just drinking turmeric. She's drinking from the life she's already lived, and the life she's still living, wrapped in the quiet tenderness of one small change. If you've been using turmeric every day but haven't noticed much difference, maybe the problem isn't the turmeric itself. Maybe it's what you're mixing it with. Sometimes just one small shift, like switching the milk, can open the door to something new, lighter, softer, and your body, after carrying you through so many years, might just say thank you in its own quiet, grateful way. One morning the sky held no rain, yet the earth still felt damp. David woke up earlier than usual. He made himself a smoothie just like he did every day. A banana, a handful of frozen berries, a splash of freshly squeezed orange juice, and a spoonful of turmeric. He had never liked medicine. He believed in something simpler, something closer to home, what he called health from the kitchen, not from the medicine cabinet. In that small kitchen, if you listen closely, you could hear the sound of a spoon tapping gently against the side of a glass cup, soft as an old clock marking the start of the day. The smoothie was pale golden, sweet and tangy, and he drank it like a quiet ritual before stepping out onto the porch to clear fallen leaves and water the rose bush by the front yard. But lately something had felt off in his stomach. He couldn't quite name it. Was it bloating? A burning sensation? Or just a quiet discomfort that lingered without explanation? At first he blamed the weather. Then he thought maybe he'd just been eating too fast. But the feeling kept returning, every morning, right after the smoothie he once loved. One afternoon, while waiting to pick up a supplement for an old friend at the nutrition pharmacy, he spotted an open notebook on the counter. Turmeric can become unstable in acidic environments. When combined with orange juice, tomatoes, or other sour fruits, curcumin may begin to break down before it even reaches the bloodstream. He didn't say a word, just quietly sat on the wooden bench by the door, looking out at the bright, unrelenting sun. He had never imagined that the very things he trusted to be healing could be the ones behind this quiet unrest. That night he didn't make a smoothie. Instead, he saved the turmeric for lunch, stirred into a warm bowl of pumpkin soup, and the next morning, he replaced the orange juice with warm water. That's all, no medicine, no drastic change, just one small shift. The very shift his body had been whispering for weeks. A week later, while chatting with an old friend at the Tai Chi Club, he said, "You know, sometimes we take something because we believe it's good, but no matter how good it is, it still needs to be taken at the right time." He didn't explain further, didn't try to prove anything. He simply shared, like a gentle echo from something lived, from a body that had once endured in silence and was now growing lighter. These days, he still makes his morning smoothie, but without turmeric. He saves the turmeric for lunch, where there's no orange juice, no sour fruit, only the natural sweetness of vegetables and a pinch of black pepper. That gentle heat, he says, feels like me, old now, but still alive with a spark. Some changes don't need to be taught. They only need to be heard, because the body, after everything, has always been our oldest friend. The question is, have we listened long enough to hear it speak? There was a small bruise on Mr. Walter's arm. It didn't hurt. It wasn't swollen. Just a deep violet patch, quiet as a dried ink stain, resting there without anyone noticing. At first he paid it no mind, but then more began to appear, on his legs, on the backs of his hands. At first it was after bumping into the edge of a table. Later, it happened even without touching anything at all. Mr. Walter was a man of routine. Every morning he took one turmeric capsule. Then he'd juice fresh ginger, add a sliver of garlic, and a bit of honey. He believed in prevention over cure. Whenever someone asked, he'd say proudly, "I only use natural remedies. No medication ever." But the body doesn't know the difference between natural and medicine. It only knows this: when something comes in excess, even goodness can become a burden. One evening, during dinner with his son, Walter suddenly had a nosebleed, unexpected and persistent. He didn't panic, but his son did. After a few rounds of blood tests, the doctor sat down with him and said, "Your blood's too thin. You're not on any blood thinners, but turmeric, ginger, garlic, and fish oil, taken together, can act just as powerfully." Walter sat quietly. The words didn't scare him. They just made him remember. He remembered the early mornings, mixing turmeric into warm water, adding it to ginger juice. Every gesture, part of a belief that he was living a healthy life. But it turns out, even good intentions need boundaries. Even what we trust as safe needs moderation. From that day forward, he didn't stop turmeric, nor did he give up ginger. He simply rearranged the timing. Turmeric at noon, ginger in the evening, garlic every other day, fish oil, still there, just half the usual dose. No one told him to do this. But when the body speaks, he chose to listen, not out of fear, but out of respect. 2 months later, the bruises had vanished. His blood still flowed well, and he was still himself, steady, deliberate, caring for his health. But now with space, room for the body to adjust on its own. Some wounds don't hurt, but they are the body's way of whispering, "I'm overwhelmed." And sometimes healing doesn't require an overhaul. Sometimes it begins with one small choice, knowing when to pause, when to space things out, and when to let the body rest. If you've been taking turmeric along with ginger, garlic, or fish oil every day, and you're noticing easy bruising, bleeding gums, or slow healing cuts. Step back for a moment. You don't have to stop. Just give each thing its time. Sometimes what the body needs isn't more. It's rest to restore. Rest so light has a place to enter. There's something very simple the body once tried to teach us. That when we eat something nourishing, we feel stronger. When we slow down, we see ourselves more clearly. And when we truly listen to the breath, to the heartbeat, to that subtle ache in the knee or the dull tension in the arm, we realize the body has never been silent. It's always been whispering. We've just been too hurried, too busy to hear it anymore. And over time, we start filling our days with everything good. A smoothie, a turmeric pill, a spoon of fish oil, a few slices of ginger. As if more, faster, more regularly meant better. But sometimes in trying so hard to be healthy, we forget that health isn't only about adding more. It's also about knowing when to pause. Many of us have thought, I'm doing the right thing. I haven't done anything wrong. And it's true. No one is wrong. It's just that, even what's right, when taken at the wrong time or in the wrong combination, can quietly wear the body down. We feel restless at night. Our stomach feels heavy. Bruises show up. Muscles ache. Or there's just a kind of tiredness we can't explain. And we say, maybe it's just age. But perhaps that's the body knocking, gently, asking us to come home again. A turmeric drink in the morning, harmless on its own, can upset the stomach when mixed with orange juice. A turmeric capsule taken alongside fish oil, ginger, and garlic, nutritious, yes, can thin the blood too much. Turmeric stirred into cow's milk, meant to soothe, might never be fully absorbed because the casein holds the curcumin too tightly. No one ever told us these things from the start. But one being always knew, our body. Some people choose to give up turmeric entirely. Some give up every natural remedy out of fear. But there are others who simply shift the time of day. Switch from cow's milk to almond milk. Separate turmeric from iron-rich breakfasts, from citrus juices, from dinners heavy with ginger and garlic. And slowly the body settles. Sleep comes easier. The bruises fade. No more lingering aches in the belly. No one healed them. They simply began to listen, gently. Now turmeric still sits on the kitchen shelf, but it's no longer just a healthy habit to do every day. It's become a conscious choice, taken at the right time, in the right way, aligned with a body that knows itself more intimately than ever. No rush, no pressure, no chasing anything. Just living in tune with what feels right and what is enough. If someone were to ask, these people wouldn't lecture. They'd simply share about one small change, about the feeling when the body finally says, I feel good again, and the light that returns. It doesn't come from turmeric. It comes from presence, from a quiet soul who's learned to live well, not by doing more, but by doing less at just the right moment. A life message to you who have walked through many seasons of sun and wind. Your body has never stopped speaking to you. It just speaks softly at times, through a restless night, a quiet bruise with no clear cause, or a gentle ache in the shoulder as afternoon turns to dusk. At this stage of life, being healthy is no longer about doing more or taking everything. It's about knowing when to pause, to ask what is truly needed, what might be too much, and what could be separated, so the body feels a little lighter. Perhaps you don't need to add anything, just untangle what's been mixed. Just shift the timing of turmeric. Just change the milk. Just take one small step back, and already the body has room to recover. Because health doesn't always come from something grand. Sometimes it comes from a quiet understanding of ourselves. And if you are still listening to your body with respect, then let me say this from the heart: you are already living beautifully.